Hey guys, this is your host, and today we're gonna be bringing you a true survival story that will leave you in awe. So stay tuned. The call came in to the local sheriff's department. A woman had just crashed her car off of a cliff and was now stuck 200 feet down the embankment. But when help arrived, they found something strange. She wasn't injured at all. And when they asked her how she managed to survive a fall from such a height, she simply said she wasn't alone. It was early in the morning when the accident occurred, and it was only thanks to a passerby who noticed the plume of dust that was kicked up by the car as it tumbled over the edge of the cliff. Otherwise, who knows how long she could have been there before someone found her. As it was, she was only discovered less than an hour after the accident occurred. The man who happened upon the scene quickly called the emergency services and told them about the accident. He then ran over to the edge of the cliff and looked down into the valley below, hoping against hope that he would see someone waving their arms or making some other gesture that would indicate they were okay. But he saw nothing. He then decided to make his way around the back of the hill in the hopes of finding a place where he could get closer to the bottom of the cliff. And finally, he spotted the car that had gone over the edge. It was crumpled like a piece of paper. The airbags had deployed and the windows were shattered. But miraculously, the driver's door had come open and a pair of legs could be seen sticking out. And when he got closer, he saw that it was a woman and she was alive. He called out to her and asked if she was okay, and she replied, "I'm fine." So he started to ask her questions while he waited for the emergency services to arrive. She told him that she had lost control of her car, and it had skidded off the road and over the edge of the cliff. She also told him that she had 2 dogs with her, but when he asked if they were okay, she replied, "I don't know." She said that she had been driving along the winding mountain road when suddenly a large animal darted across the road directly in front of her vehicle. She slammed on the brakes and tried to swerve around the animal, but in doing so, she lost control of her car, and it went off the side of the road and over the cliff. She had no idea how far down the embankment the car had fallen, but when she looked out of the window, she could see that they were a long way from the road. As she was talking to the man, she heard one of her dogs whimpering from somewhere at the bottom of the wreckage. She didn't want to move in case she made things worse, but she told the man that one of her dogs was still alive. The man stayed with her and comforted her until such time as the emergency services arrived and a helicopter was winched down to take her out of there. She was placed onto a stretcher, and as they prepared to airlift her out of there, she turned to the man who had saved her and said, "You don't understand. I wasn't alone. I had 2 dogs with me." He knew this, of course, but he played along for the sake of the poor woman who was clearly still in shock. And when they asked her if she had any injuries, she replied, "No, I'm okay, but my dogs, I don't know what happened to them." The emergency service workers did everything they could to comfort her, but at that point, they had to focus on getting her out of there as quickly as possible. She was placed onto the helicopter and airlifted to the nearest hospital, where she was treated for the shock of the ordeal. But amazingly, she was released from hospital the same day and made a full recovery. When she left hospital, she was overjoyed to be reunited with her 2 dogs, who had also survived the ordeal. So what actually happened to her? Well, after being discharged from hospital, she went to stay with friends while her home was checked for damage as a result of the accident. It seems that when the car went over the edge of the cliff, it landed on its roof, which protected the woman and cushioned the fall somewhat. This was also lucky because the roof caved in, trapping the woman inside, preventing her from being ejected from the car. This would have almost certainly been fatal. And it was only thanks to the fact that the car had landed in a relatively safe position that she was able to survive unscathed. Even more amazingly, the dogs also survived the crash. The woman had 2 Labradors with her, and they were only lightly injured, suffering cuts and bruises. They had clearly been thrown from the car during the accident, but they must have landed in a relatively safe spot because they were able to walk away from the incident with only minor injuries. The woman was incredibly grateful to the emergency services and the man who had helped her, and she said that she owed her life to the fact that he had called for help and stayed with her until such time as the helicopter arrived. In an interview with the press, she said, "I owe my life to these people. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. I couldn't believe how lucky I was to be alive after the crash. But then when I realized that both my dogs were also okay, I was over the moon. It really was a miracle." She also said that she was grateful that her dogs had been with her during the ordeal, because she believes that they had kept her calm and that they had helped her to survive. She said, "When I realized that one of my dogs was still alive, it gave me the strength to keep going. I knew that I had to stay strong for them. I couldn't give up. They needed me." And when asked what she would say to the man who had saved her life, she said, "From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I don't know what I would have done without him." After the accident, the woman took some time away from the media spotlight to recover and heal. But since then, she has become an advocate for animal rescue charities, and she regularly speaks at events to raise awareness of the importance of adopting rescue animals. She says that her dogs, who she adopted from a local shelter, are her heroes and that she owes them her life. And she hopes that by sharing her story, she can encourage other people to adopt rescue animals. So what happened next for the woman? Well, she eventually decided to move away from the area and start a new life. She sold her house and bought a new car, and she also got a new dog, a rescue dog named Lucky. She wanted to keep a low profile and didn't want anyone to know where she had moved to. But she still receives the occasional phone call from well-meaning members of the public who heard about her story and they just wanted to see how she was doing. But for the most part, she has been able to move on with her life, and she is now very happy. She works part-time and spends the rest of her time caring for her 3 dogs and volunteering at the local animal shelter. She says that she is grateful for everything she has and that she tries to focus on the positive things in life. And she says that she is especially grateful for the support of her friends and family who rallied around her after the accident and helped her to rebuild her life. So what is the moral of the story? Well, this is a classic example of how a bad situation can turn out to be a good thing. The woman's life was turned upside down when she was involved in a serious car accident. But she was able to use this experience to make positive changes in her life. She is now living a simpler life, free from the stress and complications of her old life. And she is also more active than ever, thanks to her newfound appreciation for life. It is also a story about the power of the human spirit. The woman was seriously injured and faced a long road to recovery, but she never gave up. She knew that she had to stay strong for herself and for her dogs, and she did. Finally, it is a story about the importance of helping others. The man who helped the woman at the scene of the accident was a true hero. He could have easily driven on, but he stopped to help, and he saved the woman's life. All in all, this is an amazing story of survival, resilience, and the power of the human spirit. The woman was incredibly lucky to survive the accident, but she was also helped by the kindness of strangers and the support of her family and friends. So what do you think of this story? Do you know anyone who has been in a similar situation? Let us know in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up.